The production of the film 47 Ronin is a classic example of a project where everyone involved moved in their own direction, ultimately tearing apart this high-budget movie starring Keanu Reeves. The project, initially envisioned as a dark and bloody version of The Last Samurai, with a big, though not insane budget, became one of the biggest box office failures of 2013. After the short film The Gift gained significant success, Hollywood studios turned their attention to director Carl Rinsch. It's hard to say why such a high-budget film was entrusted to a beginner director right away. Perhaps it was all due to Ridley Scott, who promoted Rinsch by initially assigning him to direct Prometheus. For some time, Ridley Scott either didn't want or pretended he didn't want to direct Prometheus himself, so he pushed Rinsch's candidacy at the studio as the director. However, 20th Century Fox suspected something wasn't right and insisted that Scott personally direct Prometheus, or they would refuse to fund the big-budget sci-fi film. Rinsch left the project, but almost immediately signed on to direct a remake of Logan's Run. For years, Logan's Run had passed from one director to another, with changing scripts, scales, and studios, yet the project never got off the ground. After working on Logan's Run for several months, Rinsch started to suspect something and decided to back out. Perhaps for a good reason, since the project still makes occasional news with little progress. Directors leave, and new writers are hired. Recently, Simon Kinberg was appointed as the director, but after the failure of X-Men Dark Phoenix, which Kinberg directed, someone likely started to get suspicious again, and the project has once again disappeared from view, probably to resurface with a new director. So after departing from Logan's Run in 2010, Rinsch didn't wander around Hollywood for long. Universal Studios picked him up. Rinsch was offered 2 films to choose from: 47 Ronin and Creature from the Black Lagoon. He chose 47 Ronin, which shouldn't be surprising. A couple of years prior, 47 Ronin was listed on the blacklist of scripts, a collection of the best works that hadn't yet made it to production. This meant the script was widely praised and considered a gem. However, this blacklist doesn't guarantee anything. But since it's highly publicized, it's believed that if a script makes it there, it must be good. When major films based on these scripts are later produced, some people start having doubts, though often too late. Over the years, scripts for such amazing films as Meet Dave, The Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, Jennifer's Body, That's My Boy, and All About Steve have appeared on this list. The ratings for these films are now at rock bottom, making it hard to believe the scripts were actually excellent. Of course, the list also included some real gems. In Bruges, for instance, got funding after appearing on the blacklist. But in any case, most scripts on the list are of a mediocre quality at best. Whatever his reasoning, Rinsch chose 47 Ronin, and unlike Logan's Run, the production for 47 Ronin didn't drag on. Filming began just a few months after Rinsch joined the project. Often, in situations with new directors, studios assign producers who closely monitor the director's work. But in Rinsch's case, Universal took a different route and didn't keep track of what was happening on set. The initial budget of 47 Ronin was substantial, but it didn't quite reach blockbuster levels. The film's budget was around $120 million. Oblivion, starring Tom Cruise, which hit theaters the same year as 47 Ronin, also cost $120 million. The main issue with 47 Ronin is believed to be the starkly different visions held by director Carl Rinsch and Universal Studios for the final product. The director aimed to make a stylish art house film about samurai, reminiscent of Ridley Scott's Kingdom of Heaven, while the studio wanted a Lord of the Rings or Avatar-like epic. When Universal received the rough cut, the producers were horrified. Instead of Avatar, they had a dark art house drama with a $100 million price tag. The test audience that viewed this version sided with the studio. The film was incredibly drawn out, dark, and difficult to understand. Attempting to save the project, the studio made several script adjustments and ordered the director to shoot new scenes immediately. At that point, 47 Ronin began transforming into a Frankenstein's monster. The changes did not produce the results the studio hoped for. If the film had previously been slow and heavy, it now turned into something unwatchable. The release was hastily postponed for an entire year, and 47 Ronin went back for extensive reshoots. The beginning and ending of the film had to be completely changed. Several new scenes with Keanu Reeves had to be shot, as the studio felt there was unacceptably little screen time for the main star. This led to the removal of entire storylines, and several actors' roles were reduced to a minimum. The role of the actor who played the captain was almost entirely cut. Originally, his screen time was second only to Keanu Reeves. After all the changes, his role was reduced to a brief cameo. Rick Genest, also known as Zombie Boy, was supposed to have more screen time as well, but the entire storyline involving pirates was shortened to just a few minutes. Now, character posters featuring him seem quite ironic. Despite everything the studio did, 47 Ronin still didn't work. The studio ordered yet another round of additional reshoots, adding fantasy creatures, battle scenes, and a romantic subplot. Throughout these reshoots, the budget grew to $175 million. Rumor has it that Carl Rinsch was so unhappy with the final film that he got into a fight with the producers, after which he was unceremoniously kicked off the project. He took no part in the final editing. Released in theaters in December 2013, 47 Ronin flopped spectacularly. In the US, the film earned only $38 million, with international distribution bringing in another $113 million. It wasn't enough to save the film. Losses for the studio on this samurai epic are estimated at between $100 million and $150 million. Carl Rinsch's career ended abruptly. After 47 Ronin, he never directed another film. It's a shame that films like this don't allow for an option like Mel Gibson's Payback, where we got two entirely different versions and had the chance to compare the studio's vision to the director's. But when a film requires extensive work on special effects, producing a second version for just a few $1 million is simply impossible. Thank you for your attention.